Hey Jojo, hey Tom.
I
This is such a wonderful project to be part of, and you two are playing two. Actually, you're lucky enough to be playing two of the real life sort of characters
yeah.
that existed around that time. I'll start with you, Jojo. What was it like getting that call to say, "Look, you've been cast to play this guy"?
Blooming heck. I think it's amazing, obviously. First thing was like, right, fantastic, pop the champagne. Let's go. That's amazing. I'm going to Rome. Going to Rome, baby. Very exciting. And then you're like, okay, I've actually got a bit of a weight on my shoulders here because I am playing a historical character. And currently, despite the internet trends, I wasn't thinking about the Roman Empire that much. So I had to do quite a lot of swatting up. Um, But
Mm.
luckily for me, number one, Domitian has an insane amount of literature written on him. So there's a lot to dive into, and he's a really fascinating guy. Um, and if anyone, I encourage everyone to look into him because he's an interesting bloke, or just watch the show, of course. But the big thing that made it easy was the fact that we were in Rome. So we'd walk out of our hotel where we were staying in the morning, and there's the Circus Maximus, there's the Colosseum, there's the Forum, and then you drive to work and you drive past all of them, and then you're in the middle of these insane sets where you really feel like you're stood at the center of ancient Rome. It was truly immersive and incredible.
Tom, I'm going to ask you the same question, really. Was it like, I mean, did you know uh, about him, what he stood for, how long he'd been sort of, I mean, not to give anything away, he's again, the two brothers are quite well known for preceding each other as emperors of Rome. What was it like for you to sort of read up on him?
It was important, obviously. Any character that you play, you kind of have to look at how that animal feels and in the world that they find themselves and the kind of specificity of the context of that world. And so, it is really important to really understand that because every detail helps you fine tune that your representation of that human and find that rhythm that they would have had. Um, but also it's a dramatic representation as well, and therefore there's the dramatic version of Titus, which is the one that I was trying to inhabit, and I actually found him, the character on the page, shall we say, and even with the research, quite a hard nut to crack, in truth, and it wasn't obvious to me why I was drawn to play him initially. I was just kind of I was challenged by him a lot in terms of trying to find that depth and complexity because you can see that it was there in certain things, a political naivety or an emotional naivety at times, a blind loyalty at times, particularly to his brother. And I'm thinking, where's this coming from? Because that doesn't seem to marry with the image of him as a soldier and the expectation that he'll lead on to be an emperor. And everything came back to his relationship with his father and the image of his father looming large, the expectation, as I said, of him taking over one day and stepping into that breach. And so the more I looked, the more I thought, well, to bring this complexity, to go back to who that young boy would have been, who's kind of sacrificed all of his emotional growth, if you like, just to fulfill this role. The character of Vespasian becomes very important. And then I was like, I really hope it's an actor that will just really bring a lot of depth because I can only bring as much depth as they bring. And I was like, do we know who's playing Vespasian? And they went, oh, it's just the best actor that's ever lived. Okay, no problem. Yeah, that's fine. That's great. I'm sure that'll bring the depth that I need. So I found him hard. I found him hard, but once Anthony was on board and I could pick up on Anthony's rhythms and then that really helped. And then he suddenly he unlocked a lot, and I could find those kind of challenging contradictions within him because that's always what you're drawn to as an actor.
Yeah, Jojo, your character is in the great tradition of a good Roman villain, and that's what I really adored about him. Were there anything in the past? Were you a fan of the genre of like representing Rome, how it was? Had you gone back to watching, let's say, Rome, HBO Rome, or Caligula, or things like that, and that sort
Yeah.
of you could put yourself in that character properly?
I think I weirdly actively tried to avoid doing that
Yeah.
because I think I wanted to. I know that there's a big history of the sort of sword and sandal
Mm.
type of show, type of film, and I kind of think if I watch anything, I don't want to steal bits. I don't want to.
I want to bring my idea of what that would be to the screen. So I kind of actually tried to stay away from it and instead just try to build up. I think the way I approached the mission to make that sort of villainous character is you look at what he ends up doing historically, which is some pretty crazy stuff, and then trying to work from him as a kid. How do you make someone go from a boy born in ancient Rome to become this tyrant by the end of his life, and sort of map that out, build it, and by the time we pick up the mission, he's already quite jaded and twisted and bitter. And yeah, I mean, playing a villain's pretty fun, isn't it?
Jojo, again, I just want to go back to sort of, Tom, you've spoken about your working about a certain thing, Hopkins, and that kind of
Yeah.
relationship with him on set. What was it like for you?
Yes, a certain Hopkins character.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, crazy. What a pleasure, what a privilege it is to work with someone of the caliber and sort of legend status that Anthony Hopkins has. Obviously, I was terrified to go and do it at the start, and I remember standing on set being very sweaty under the top, and Anthony Hopkins walks in, and I'm like, oh God, what am I going to say to Anthony? About to go and do a scene with him, and I'm in my head, it's like, okay, got to be professional because you got to go and do it. Um, and he comes over to me and gives me a fist bump, says, "All right, how's it going, Tony?"
Oh,
It's Jojo, isn't it? And I'm like, yeah, yeah, it is. I've it's very rare to work with an actor that makes you feel as comfortable on a set as Tony did. It's just amazing. Like, obviously, incredible actor, but I think it's very important to say, just an amazingly nice guy. Just such a lovely dude.
so when we talk about Roland and the working with him on set, and what is he like? And did he ever ask for any sort of ad libs or pointers, or how would someone in your accent say certain things at all?
No, no, not at all. In terms of that, no, it was a real pleasure working with Roland. You know, going back to your question earlier about Titus, and you saying that Titus was a hard nut to crack. You know, obviously that was a challenge, and it was a challenge that I wanted to take on. But another big attraction of this project was Roland. You know, and the scale of it, and his vision for the scale of it, and the opportunity to have the scale of you know, you kind of blockbuster, I guess, but have the long form opportunity to eke out elements of the story so you can plant a seed in episode 2 and it will pay off 6 hours later rather than an hour and a half later. And then also knowing Roland's work, and he's shown himself. And I didn't grow up watching films, so a lot of my film kind of knowledge has come in my kind of early to mid 20s onwards, and just the spectacle of Roland's films, the size, the grandeur, and his very acute ability to sustain that and take you on that journey, it's almost second to none. And so knowing his vision for what we wanted to achieve for this show, the technological advances that he wanted to use, and the size of the ambition, and then knowing actually that the person who's going to be leading that ambition is Roland, that was a thrill ride that I just had to be a part of. And then similarly to what Jojo is referencing in terms of Anti, and I second that absolutely. What an incredible guy, you know. And they say don't meet your heroes. Well, if your heroes are Anthony Hopkins, you should meet your heroes because he's just amazing. I found working with Roland to be just beyond what I expected. His dedication, his passion, the detail of his notes, but also the collaboration, the vision, the focus. It was a thrill. It was something that I really, really cherished. And yeah, I loved it. Really, really loved it.
Working on this set with so many people, such a huge cast actually, mostly of young people as well. Do you feel, but both of you, question to both of you, did you feel like you've forged lifelong friendships after working on this project, Jojo?
I mean, yeah.
What are you gonna say, man? What are you gonna say?
What's he gonna say?
Never want to hear from you
hate them
again.
all. No, I mean, I think, in particular, I don't know. Well, Tom is a fantastic actor, and I would like to call you a friend for life. And Tom, will you marry me?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
Tom. I mean, we got super, super tight living in. I mean, we were living in Rome together I was there for nearly 9 months. And so yeah, me and Tom got very close. Me, Tom, and Ewan got very, very close. Me and Alessandro Benedetti, an amazing Italian actor, and who plays Hermes. We've got very, very tight, and yeah, you do create very tight bonds, and it's a really nice thing. And Roland's good at picking good people, and I think that was a big part of this job. Is you're surrounded by lovely, lovely people. But yeah, I'd say me and Tom. It's you and me now, bro. Brothers on off the screen.
You know what? I don't know who Jojo is. We've never spoken to each other before. No, I'm joking. It's one of those when you go through a career, you know, you obviously you build those relationships in certain jobs, and particularly something at the length of this, and that's fabulous. You know, it's very much about a collaborative process, but occasionally people stick and they carry on with you through life. And Jojo and Yuan, you know, really have become that. I mean, Jojo and myself are just absolutely guitar obsessed. And so from the very get-go, that was an outlet. And it's really lovely to be in this position and be having a day like today and doing it with someone that I really class as a very dear friend. So it's lovely.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys!
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys!
Hey!